now it's a reality. Christy McSweeney and James Ashby here on the rest of the day's news. Christy, now the great fear, of course, was that while Iran has been backing Hamas, while Iran has been sort of playing games for a long period of time in the region, they weren't actually the ones pulling a trigger. Well, they did so, but Israel had the technology to stop it. Now, Iran came out and said today that's it. Now, either they made a calculated decision that they assumed none of these things would land, or they were surprised that Israel was able to knock many of the drones out of the sky. And the drones, when you throw a whole bunch of drones at the Iron Dome, it's a very different proposition than just a missile or a rocket. Do you think that that's it, one and done here?
Look, I'm not a Middle East expert, Paul, but what is clear is that there has been an escalation and both the United States government and, of course, that leads to the position, the precarious position that our government here in Australia seems to be taking, which is not a position at all, really, or struggling to find a position. But if it does escalate further and Iran does continue activity, or Israel continues activity against Iran, we're going to have to make some decisions politically here in Australia and follow through with the United States.
I mean, James, we have this scenario where, again, I mean, there is no Goldilocks position here. It's all going to cause trouble in every single direction here. It just was quite interesting to see Iran saying that, all right, we've sent it and that's it. Now, again, I don't trust Iran. I don't believe Iran. But obviously Iran, to this point, has not fired anything. Do you believe them that that's it?
No. And look, the only benefit that Israel has is the fact that they've got superior technology, warfare technology there, where that Arrow aerial system managed to defend the country quite well. I recognise that a couple got through, but for the most part it was defended very well. I'd hate to have the American forces, let's face it, it's not Joe Biden that goes in and saves the day, it's the American forces that will. But Albo's got a few spinning plates to keep in the air this week, and he's got to pick a side. Who's he going to back? Is it going to be Israel? I hope so, because we need to be on the same side as the Yanks and Israelis, that's for sure.
All right. Now, also in all of this, again, and I mentioned this in the Sunday Showdown, right? And again, these conversations, they become so complicated so quickly, and there's people ready to pounce, but I'll do my best. If you're a person who believes in a two-state solution, then at some point in time that means a recognition of Palestine, right? Penny Wong has, of course, started to move towards that position. It's certainly the one that the left would like to happen. However, for obvious reasons, the Palestine that would become a country at the moment would end up with Hamas as its government, right? But it is a very odd amount of timing here, and we know, Christy, what's going on here, which is that for obvious reasons, much of the world has quite a reaction to Israel's reaction to October the 7th, right? Not going to pretend that that's not the case. But it was to me a little confusing that at a time when things are still literally, there is a hot war going on, that was the time to start to change where Australia stood about the recognition of Palestine.
Well, it's certainly politically calculated. Someone of the Foreign Minister's wide experience and competence knows exactly what she is saying in broadcasting such thoughts and such a position. Of course, she's signalling to the internal Labor audience and external Labor audience, which includes seats in Western Sydney that have between 27 and 35% Muslim population, who the majority of them are in support of Palestine's situation. That is scaring MPs out in Western Sydney, not necessarily that they would lose to the coalition, but that it would see a group of pro-Palestinian local independent identities split the ALP's vote in those communities, reduce the margin and perhaps put Labor on an equal footing with the Greens against independent identities across Western Sydney and, of course, here in Melbourne as well. So it's not about global democracy. It's not about Australia's position as supporting a democratic nation in the Middle East like Israel. It's domestic.
Well, as is the situation with Biden, right? Okay, he says what he says today about Iran, but then let's be honest,
Exactly.
His own presidential hopes or they may well end up evaporating because of his willingness to stand by what Israel's been doing in response to what Hamas did. Of course, quick break.